All right, so today we're doing a deep dive into something that sounds kind of like, well, it sounds almost too good to be true, especially for anyone out there who's trying to keep their website, top notch when it comes to performance.
Yeah. Have you ever wished that you could hit publish? Like, you could hit publish on your website, and by the time you blinked, it was live everywhere.
Oh, yeah.
It's kind of that idea. We're talking about Cloudflare and this new instant purge
Yeah.
feature they've rolled out.
So Cloudflare's Instant Purge, I mean, that sounds like something straight out, like, a tech dream, hit publish, instant global update. Is that really what we're talking about here?
It's getting really, really close.
Okay, so, like, for those of us who, we hear CDN, we know it's important, but we might not be, like, down in the weeds of how it all works. How would you explain what Cloudflare's doing here and why this instant purge thing is such a big deal?
Well, I mean, you hit the nail on the head. It is now about CDNs. So content delivery networks, just to make sure everyone's on the same page.
Yeah.
And everyone kind of gets the gist that, it's all about speed. It's about making sure that your website loads super fast.
Right.
No matter where somebody's trying to access it from.
Yeah, it's like having, a copy of my website on a server right next door to every single person who might visit, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
You want somebody in, Australia to be able to access the content just as quickly as somebody here in, the States.
Right, right. And that's like the magic of CDNs, right? They
Yeah.
make it, it's like, how do they get my website all over the world like that?
Right.
But then you make a change to your website and you're
Yeah.
like, wait a minute.
And that's always been the trick, right?
Yeah.
Because so you've got these cached copies
Mm-hmm.
everywhere. And how quickly can you invalidate that cache?
Yeah.
And that's where the purge comes in.
Okay, so that's what we're talking about with Instant Purge. We're talking about how do you get rid of the old stuff quickly?
Exactly. So, I mean, you can imagine. Let's say you update, I don't know, a blog post.
Right.
Right. And you needed that change like 5 minutes ago.
Yeah.
And you hit publish, but it has to go through all these different, hoops to get that purge request.
Right, right. So like before, I mean, I'm trying to remember back in the dark ages when I first started building websites, even like a minor update, it felt like it took forever to actually be live everywhere.
Yeah, I mean, it could take, I don't know, it could take minutes. It could even take, tens of minutes sometimes,
Oh, yeah.
depending on the system, right?
Right, right.
And so that's what Cloudflare is trying to solve with this.
Yeah.
They've re-architected
Okay.
the entire system.
So how are they claiming instant now?
Well, so previously, they were using this, what they call a hub and spoke model,
Okay.
which basically meant that every request had to go through
Right.
a central point.
It's like a bottleneck.
Yeah, it was a bottleneck, exactly.
Yeah.
And so, that worked. It's fine. But they realized that it was creating this bottleneck, and it just wasn't efficient.
Okay.
So they said, what if we just get rid of the core?
Coreless. Okay, before we go too far down that, like, into the technical weeds there, can you just, like, what does that even mean in this context?
So imagine if, like, okay, so we've got the postal system,
Yeah.
right? And if you want to send a letter, it's got to go to, like, a sorting facility.
Right.
And then it gets routed
The
to
hub.
to the different
Yeah.
spokes, right?
Right, right.
What if you could every post office could just send directly
Okay.
to any other post office?
Interesting.
And so that's kind of what they've done.
So it's like they hit the decentralize button?
Yeah,
Okay.
they've decentralized.
All right, so they ditch the hub and spoke, they go coreless. Every data center can now handle these purge requests directly. And they built a whole new system to manage this, right?
He did.
That's CacheDB.
CacheDB, yeah.
Okay, and this is what allows them to claim those super fast speeds.
That's what they're saying. Less than 150 milliseconds on average.
Okay, but is that legit? Or is that like, marketing hype?
So they show their data.
Okay.
So in their blog post, they actually have a bunch of benchmarks.
Oh, okay.
And it's actually really interesting because they didn't just look at, like, some
Because you can always
idealize.
Yeah.
Oh, in our lab, under
Yeah.
perfect conditions.
Exactly.
No, they actually pulled, like, real user data
Oh, wow.
compared, what were the purge times before?
Okay.
What are they now? And globally, they saw a 90.5% improvement.
90.5%. All right, we're gonna dig into those numbers a little bit more after a quick break. 90.5% faster. Okay, that's seriously impressive. But the devil's in the details, right?
Yeah.
Did they give us a breakdown by region? Because the internet's not exactly equal opportunity everywhere in the world, right? Like some places are going to be faster, some places are going to be slower.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And yeah, they did break it down by region, and they actually, some regions saw even more improvement.
Oh, wow.
So for instance, Asia Pacific,
Okay.
they went from an average purge time of 1,300 milliseconds
Okay.
down to 199 milliseconds. So
Wow.
that was an 84.69% improvement.
Okay, so that's like a night and day difference, right?
Oh, wow.
So that really speaks to the power of ditching that hub and spoke model, right?
It does.
It's not just about being like mind-blowingly fast everywhere. It's about like making it consistent. Yeah.
Exactly. So it doesn't matter where your users are,
Yeah.
they're going to have a good experience.
Okay, so this cache DB thing.
Yeah.
We were talking about it earlier, and you said it was like this super fast search engine. Can we dig into that a little bit? Because, we're talking about huge amounts of data
Massive.
across like tons of servers all over the world.
Right, right.
How do you even begin to build something that fast? Like what's the thinking there?
So I think the interesting part about what Cloudflare did here was they really took a step back first, and they looked at their own data.
Okay.
They looked at, okay, how many files are we actually storing on these cache disks?
Right. Right.
Like, how often is content changing? How are we tagging these files? How are these files organized?
Yeah.
So they actually took a step back and said, what is the problem we're trying to solve?
So it's not just a matter of like throwing more servers or bigger servers or faster servers at the problem. It's about actually understanding like how the data is structured, how it's moving around, and optimizing for that, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, you could have the fastest servers in the world,
Right.
but if they're all talking to each other in the wrong way,
It's not going to
it's not going to match.
It's not going to matter. Yeah. Okay, so they do their homework, they figure out like how the data's laid out, how it's being accessed, all of that, and then they build CacheDB to kind of like wrangle all of that.
Yeah. And I think what's really cool about it is, we were talking about lazy purge earlier,
Mhm.
and how, with that system, content might stick around on a server until someone requests it.
Yeah, it's like that box in the back of your closet. You're like, I should probably go through that at some point, but
Exactly. Right. It's like it's there, and it's there, but you're not really dealing with it.
yeah. Yeah.
But then CacheDB, it's like it cleans that up.
Oh,
It's
okay.
like we're not going to wait for somebody to request that file that's no longer valid. We're just going to go ahead and get rid of it.
So it's proactive, it's not reactive.
Exactly.
Okay, so it frees up space, it makes everything faster, it's more efficient.
Yep. All the good things.
All right, this all sounds, again, like almost too good to be true. So what's the catch?
Well, there's always a catch, right?
Yeah.
There's always
Yeah.
a but. So right now, all the features, or I should say the full suite of Instant Purge, it's really only available to their enterprise customers.
So like the people with the platinum credit card, they get to.
Yeah, they get to play with all the toys first, but, Cloudflare has said that they're going to roll this out more broadly in early 2025.
Okay. All right. So it's coming. It's just not here for everybody quite yet.
Yeah.
But okay, so we've been talking about this coreless architecture this whole time, right?
Mm.
And we've been talking about it in the context of like, purging content, getting websites updated quickly, all that. But it sounds like this has implications beyond just, making my blog load a few milliseconds faster, right?
Yeah, it really does.
Like this is a bigger shift than that, right?
This is changing how a lot of the internet works.
Okay, so tell me more about that. What else can this coreless design do? What else can this coreless design do?
So we're talking about like a fundamental shift,
Right.
right, in how the internet works.
Mhm.
It's less about having this like central brain
Right.
that everything have to go through, and more like,
More
a
distributed.
network of, like interconnected nodes all kind of working together.
It's like the difference between, I don't know, a library with one giant card catalog
Right.
versus every single book having like its own built-in index or something.
Exactly. And the beauty of that is
yeah.
not only is it more efficient,
Right.
but it's also more resilient,
Okay.
right?
Thanks.
Because if one part of the network goes down,
Right.
the rest of it can keep humming along.
So it's like the internet equivalent of like, not putting all your eggs in one basket.
Exactly. Exactly. And this is something, and this is not just a Cloudflare thing, right?
Oh.
We're seeing this trend towards coreless architectures going to pop up everywhere.
Interesting.
And it makes sense, right? As the internet continues to grow,
Yeah.
it gets bigger and bigger.
Yeah.
We need systems that can handle that kind of scale.
Okay.
Yeah.
So for those of us who are, maybe not like down in the weeds of web development every day,
Yeah.
but we like to pay attention to this stuff. We think it's interesting. What's the big takeaway here?
I think the big takeaway is that the internet is about to get a whole lot faster
Okay.
and a lot more responsive.
Okay.
So things are going to load faster. You're going to see updates happen more quickly.
So no more like staring at spinning loading icons, hopefully.
Hopefully a lot less of that.
Yeah. Okay, good.
But it's also, I think it's about, it's about the experience of the internet, right?
Okay.
It's going to become more seamless, more immersive, more dynamic.
And this is all thanks to, these coreless architectures and all the kind of the stuff that's happening behind the scenes to make it all work.
Exactly.
Okay, so the next time that I'm like, browsing the web and something loads crazy fast, I should just have a moment of appreciation for the engineers who are like making all that happen.
Give thanks to the coreless future.
Exactly. All right, well, that's going to do it for this deep dive.